So I recently spaffed out a video on this here TCL40 Next paper. It's a smartphone boasting a clever arse multi-layered LCD screen that mimics paper. It can look like paper, it even feels like paper, but it's not a proper e-ink display, the kind that you get on Amazon's Kindles and other e-readers. But manufacturer Onyx has gone one further with this here Boox Palma, which does actually have an e-paper display just like a Kindle. Now, sadly and strangely, there is no SIM support here, so to use it as a smartphone, you are 100% reliant on Wi-Fi, which means you're best off using it as a secondary device. And of course, while e-ink displays are excellent for reading, they're maybe not so good for some other stuff. So is the Boox Palma crazy enough to work, or is it just plain crazy? Well, you can grab one right now from the online Boox store for just $279 US, or you can just keep on watching this video because I'm going to give it a proper good see into. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So first up, what do you got in that box? Well, you've got yourself a Boox Palma, a dinky wee quick start guide, and you've got a USB Type A to Type C charging cable, but you will need to provide your own power adapter. No, and you also get a pokey pin to open up the SIM tray that isn't a SIM tray, it's just for memory cards. That's everything you get stuffed inside of the box, so now let's check out the Boox Palma. Alright, so just spend a bit of time setting up the Boox Palma, it's all good to go. And let's start with the design. And this phone that isn't quite a phone has a screen size of 6.13 inches, which is really compact compared with most smartphones these days. But then of course you've got these big fat chunky bezels surrounding that panel. And sadly, this significantly boosts the size. In fact, if we stick it side by side with the Pixel 8 Pro, which has a 6.7 inch screen, there's not actually that much difference in the dimensions. But thankfully, the Boox Palma isn't too chunky, and it weighs just 170 grams, so it's certainly a hell of a lot lighter than most modern mobiles. It does effectively look like a shrunken Kindle or a mini version of one of the Boox tablets. And then around back, you've got this highly textured surface, which almost feels like rough cardboard, kind of like an egg carton or something. This adds a bit of extra grip and also a bit of excitement to really jazz up the otherwise plastic design. And that camera bump seems comedically tiny compared with many smartphones. You've got two color options with the Boox Palma, black or white, highly thrilling stuff. And this device is apparently water repellent as well, not resistant, mind. Don't go taking it into the bath because if you drop it in, it could balk it up. But certainly it'll be fine for reading a book in nice drizzly weather, if that's what you're into. Now the Boox Palma is running Android, but it's slightly different to how you might be used to. You don't have the Google Discover feed, for instance. What you have is basically a page of widgets, which you can customize by tapping the wee plus up there. Likewise, there is no apps tray here, so if you swipe up, well, you get bugger all. Instead, all of your apps must live right here on your desktop, so that you can set up a folder if you so desire, just to tidy things up a bit. But the notifications bar works as usual. Just swipe down, you can see all the messages and other bits that have ticked in, and just swipe them away if you're not interested. And if you swipe down from the right hand side instead, you'll open up the control center. This allows you to quickly and easily toggle the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth and access a whole bunch of other settings. And you can also change up the brightness and the temperature of that display. So yeah, it kind of feels like a really old-fashioned back in the day version of Android, and to be honest, you're not that far off if that's what you're thinking, because if you go to About Device, you'll see that the Boox Palma is in fact running Android version 11, which takes us right back to 2020. Remember 2020? What an absolute banger of a year that was. And yeah, thankfully the security patch is a bit more up to date, but we're still languishing on the June 2023 one. But to make up for this somewhat, Onyx is at least promising 3 years minimum of firmware updates. So, you know, as long as you're not expecting the latest, freshest software anytime soon, yeah. And yes, if you head on into the network and connection side of things, you'll see no SIM support whatsoever. Although you can at least tether to another device with internet access in addition to using Wi-Fi. But yeah, the complete lack of cellular support means it would be really bloody tricky to use this as your full-time smartphone. It's a secondary device at best. Got quite a few features packed away in the settings, including a kids mode if you want to hand it off to your sprogs, let them get stuck into some books or whatever so they shut the hell up on a long journey. And customization options are rather limited. You can actually slap a wallpaper on in the background if you want to. It's called a desktop and screensaver, and then choose whichever graphic you want. Gotta say though, it doesn't really work too well as the background just ends up blending in with the icons and the text. Like, I quite like this wallpaper, but it completely masks that clock widget. However, you do also have a customizable shortcut button over here on the left edge. To customize this, just go back into the Boox Palma settings and scroll down to more settings. Got quite a few useful bits in here, but what we want is function button. And then in here you can set exactly what it does. So as you can see, by default, just a short press for a full refresh of the display and nothing for the double click or the long press, but there's lots of different options that you can choose from in here. And you get quite a few Boox apps pre-installed here on the Boox Palma. Some handy tools like Boox Drop, which you can use to access the cloud storage. You've got a dictionary, document scanner, pretty much all of your basics, but more importantly, you've got full Google Play Store access. And from here, you can basically download anything your wonderful little heart desires. As you can see, I've grabbed a few of my favorites, some of the stuff I always install on my smartphones. We'll be testing out some of those in a bit, but don't go too crazy downloading loads of different apps and games and whatnot, because you've only got 128 gigs of storage here on the Boox Palma. Although don't blubber too hard if you do find yourself running out of storage space, because that is expandable via micro SD memory cards. And Onyx is also very kindly sorting out every Boox customer with 10 free gigs of cloud storage, which is pretty handy for swapping files on and off the Palma. And speaking of which, no matter what kind of document you slap onto this thing, chances are it'll support it. If we go on into the library, this is just a small selection of the docs I've chucked on this thing. As you can see, CBZs, EPUBs, PDFs. The Palma loves them all, no need to download any extra apps. Anyway, let's load up one of these graphic novels and then we can check out what Onyx is calling its E Ink Carta 1200 screen. It's a 6.13 inch e-paper display, 1648 by 824 pixel resolution, giving you a pixel density of 300 ppi. So as far as an e-ink screen goes, nice and crisp. Even tiny text is legible, although you will need good eyesight to read it. Like really good eyesight. I've tried reading graphic novels and comics on a couple of different apps, and to be perfectly honest, it's just too teeny. The Boox Palma is certainly much better suited to standard e-books, unless you just happen to be carrying around a microscope. And it is a black and white panel, so if you've got any colour graphics novels, magazines or other books, then again you will be just viewing them in monochrome. You've got dual tone front lighting, which seems pretty uniform here on the Palma. There's no obvious bleed, etc. And between the Boox Palma's anti-glare surfacing, which helps to cut down on reflections, and the fact that the maximum brightness is pretty punchy, means you'll have no troubles whatsoever with visibility, even when you're outdoors on a very sunny day. And I do like some of the tools and other little touches when you're browsing documents. So for instance, you can use those volume keys to turn the pages. Plenty of other little features you can dive on into, including auto page turn. You can change up the formatting. Pinch to zoom sadly didn't seem to work too well in my graphic novels because I was trying to... Oh, hang on. It almost worked there. Eventually managed to get it working then, but still not exactly the ideal way to enjoy a graphic novel. Now, one of the best things about Boox tablets and now the Boox Palma as well is you can completely configure the screen refresh for each individual app. All you've got to do is swipe up from the bottom right when you're in the app, and you can choose between these 5 different modes. So in something like the Kindle app where you're only occasionally turning a page, you don't need a fast refresh, you can just stick that on HD. However, in a more dynamic app, something like a web browser for instance, where you're constantly swiping, that picture is constantly changing, you will want to bump it up a bit to the likes of fast or ultra fast. And the Boox Palma actually works remarkably well considering it is an e-ink display. Yes, you will see some light ghosting in your apps when you're flipping about the place, but considering how far this technology's come along, I am very impressed. Of course, not all apps work well here on the Boox Palma, so for instance, this is what you're presented with when trying to stream something on Disney+. It's a good old black screen there. Netflix doesn't even get that far, it basically tells you to do one straight away. And while YouTube does actually run, you can watch videos on it, it is somewhat of a Lynchian nightmare, so, you know, fine for simple short bursts maybe. The likes of Deezer and Audible work perfectly well, although you will want to stream to a pair of headphones or a speaker, of course. You've got a built-in speaker here on the Boox Palma, but it's not brilliant. You've got 200 quid to spunk out on your next smartphone. What do? Well, surprisingly, there's a lot of smartphones to choose from at this price point. It's a basic mono speaker setup, and yeah, I've certainly heard worse in my time, that's for sure, but the clarity is not fantastic, and it doesn't exactly get super loud on that top volume, so I definitely Bluetooth all the way. It's just a shame that there's no headphone jack here on the Boox Palma, unlike a lot of budget-friendly devices. Oh, and I wouldn't bother with the likes of Google Maps here on the Boox Palma either. It doesn't tend to work too well. As for the performance, well, the Boox Palma is powered by Qualcomm's Snapdragon 662, I believe it is. Quite a basic chipset, backed by 6 gigs of RAM. And to test out that performance, what better way to do it than with a quick blast on Call of Duty. I usually suck pretty bad on this game at the best of times, so I'm sure this is going to go well. Oh, here we go, been matched up. I can't believe I'm doing this, this is so dumb. Can I actually see the enemy? Oh my god, there's someone. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Christ, I killed them. Who is anybody? It's black and white, so I can't tell who's my teammates and who's not. Oh, God, kill. Just die, die, die. Yes! That's 2. Ah, inevitable. Oh, there's a bloody sniper, of course there is. Just run around with a shovel hitting people. What a dick. Ah, bollocks. I think blind fire is probably the best tactic. Oh, headshot, baby. I think he's there. Yes, come on. Blind fire for the win. Oh, bugger. Oh, no, he's on my side. Yeah, I don't think we're going to win this round. Yeah, that was kind of inevitable. I mean, really, there should be an achievement. Finish the game on a fucking Kindle. And I'd just like to point out, I actually got the 2nd best rating on our team. What the hell were the other guys playing on? Tamagotchis? As for the battery life, well, the Boox Palma sports a 3950 mAh capacity cell, and with general mixed use, a variety of apps, you can expect around sort of 6 to 7 hours of playtime before you'll need to recharge. However, if you're just using the Boox Palma to read stuff like you would do with a Kindle, well, that battery life massively expands. You actually get closer to around 17 hours of full-on reading time with this bad boy before it needs to be plugged in. And of course that will vary considerably depending on how bright you have the backlight, etc. And last up for this Boox Palma unboxing and hands-on review, you'll find a 16 megapixel camera slapped on that back end. And this is, perhaps unsurprisingly, very basic stuff. In fact, there isn't even a dedicated camera app, it's only really supposed to be used to scan documents. So I think that probably tells you all you need to know. And perhaps unsurprisingly, there's bugger all selfie camera on there. But anyway, that in a tasty wee nutshell, my lovelies, is the fresh new Boox Palma, an E Ink phone-ish style device. And if what you really want in life is a Kindle that slips inside of your pants, well, it'll definitely do the job. You can even play games on it, although I would stick with the likes of Minesweeper and Hangman. And if you are into comic books, graphic novels, or anything like that, well, I'd definitely say get a larger Boox, one of the proper full-on tablets instead. I've reviewed quite a few here on TechSpert. But anyway, it'd be great to hear what you think about the Boox Palma. Let us know in the comments below. Please do poke, subscribe, and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest and back mentalist tech. And have yourselves a bloody wonderful rest of the week. Cheers!